All right, let's sit and I'm not sipping, whatever. I don't have anything. So I wanted to do a video discussing course builders for a long time. Actually, going back all the way till the first horse show I went to coming out of COVID in 2020. I was sitting at the bar with the course builder for that show, and we were just talking about courses and course designing and whatnot. And he was like, you really got to talk about that side of this sport. So today, let's talk about course building, and specifically course designers. What is their job, how important they are, and then in a second video, what can go wrong, and what to see as a marker for a course builder that isn't doing a good job. Because that happens. Everyone has a bad day. And as a rider, I only get to jump the course that is built. I don't really get to make tweaks. I just don't. So it's so important to have a good course builder so that then us competitors can actually do what we came here to do. So before we talk about course designing today, I think it's important to talk about course designing in the past. Back many decades ago, and you could look on YouTube for old videos of the Olympics, from 50, 60 years ago, and you'll see something very different about the courses there. There weren't as much related distances. They didn't have a time allowed. It was just one massive obstacle and then a long way to the next massive obstacle. And I would argue back in the day, course designing and course designers were less important. Where as time has gone on, our fences have gotten less massive, where like the old time riders in like 50s, 60s era, they would never walk the course because there wasn't really anything to walk back in the day. And then as newer riders were coming along, the older riders just never walked. So that's, we would never not walk any of our courses. Occasionally it happens when, we're balancing between ring to ring, but we always walk. But back in the day, you don't really need to because the courses were more basic. But the sport, as all sports, it has evolved over time. Now we have breakaway cups and we have a lot more rules on what a course designer can set. And so because of that, our courses have gotten faster because we have our time allowed that we have to get under. We have, in international competition, it's 375 meters a minute. It used to be 400, but they brought it down. And the technicality, I would argue, has increased. It's less about individual jump here, individual jump there. It's more about the connection between those jumps. And because of that, the course designer has increased in importance and is such a critical element to the whole show week. So the way it works is the show manager, they all have their course designers that they like, and they will hire who they like. And then the course designer comes, and they have to work through a lot of rules. Depending on the division that's jumping, there is a standard. There's a minimum, and there's a maximum. And there's regulations down to, it has some things that you have to have at least 2 verticals of 140 height. Oxers can be 135, 132, but no verticals above 140 for it to be classified as a 140 round. And so the course designers have to know that and set the course according to the standard. But where the course designer really comes into play is making sure they set a course that is appropriate, of course, for the height, but for the people competing. I remember growing up hearing, if a Grand Prix and there was only 2 people clear, people would say, oh, the course builder won today. Well, that's just dumb. If the course designer wanted to win, they'd win every time. I could win every time course designing, and I'm not a course designer. But that's not the job of the course designer. The course designer is to, if it's a 130 round where people are using it more to warm up for the rest of the week. It's to set an appropriate 130 course so that what the riders and horses are doing can be achieved. Then when you start to come to more technical, higher level stuff, they really need to know the horse rider combinations so they set the right level, because even within a standard, there's a wide range. So in general, for the lower type courses, the course designer's job is to make sure people have a good experience. They need to learn. And so you can't set you could take me with Kalinka, 5-star horse, and you could set a disaster course at 120 that I would not jump clear. That's fully possible. So it's not about the course designer setting something unjumpable, because that's easy. It's about setting what is appropriate for the people in the course. And then once you get higher, it's really critical that the course designer designs a course that, again, still appropriate for the people doing it, but is of the right style. Is it a speed round? There's little differences in speed rounds. A speed course is different than a first round to, a Grand Prix. And so they need to set a course that is appropriate for those different characteristics, and to test the riders in ways that are challenging. Look, I want to be challenged, but I don't want it to be stupidly unsafe. So we'll get into in the second video how course designing can go wrong. But before that, we should talk about what right is. They all have their own style. Like, I know with the course designers I've seen and jump, their courses multiple times, I know what to expect when they come. It's their art, if you will, and there's some course designers that are very flowy and curvy, a lot of connected bent lines. There's a lot of course designers where it's mostly straight lines and rough U-turn. There's some course designers that focus more on how the combinations are set versus a half stride to it. Some course designers, we all know them, set crazy short time allows for reasons I don't understand. But the point is, there are styles, and it's really interesting to see the different styles and how different course designers design. It's really cool, and it adjusts. For me, this week I have, one course designer. Next week, I'll have a completely different course designer. And that's that keeps what I'm doing fresh, and it tests what I'm doing with my horses in different ways. The challenge of one course designer is different from a competitor side, is different to another course designer. And so it's important to be challenged in many ways. And that's why it's cool that each week we have a different course designer. They do rotate through. I'll probably jump the same course designer, 4 to 6 times a year, 3 to 6 times a year. And that's cool. And also through the years, you also can track their styles. And that's cool. It's a fun aspect of the sport. Whether you're jumping a small, whatever small is for you, or you're, jumping the highest level, if you're jumping the Grand Prix for your height, the course designer needs to design a course that gets a good number of people clear. Because, like in the old days, it was, 2 or 3 were clear, that was a good thing. But now we like our jump offs. We like watching people go in the jump off. We like first rounds that aren't disasters for horses, and it's about survival. Now we don't want our sport to be about survival, so it's important that the course builder designs a course that delivers what the contestants want. And also, if there are spectators, their needs matter too. If we want our sport to grow, the sport has to be exciting. And if there's only 2 people in the jump off first person has a rail and the second person just canters around clear with 2 time faults and wins, that's boring. And I would say that's a course builder who did a bad job. We want people to jump clear, and we want to see them run in the jump off. We want that excitement. And so the course designer needs to know the standard for that class. You know, a 3-star standard is different than a 4-star or 2-star. A National Grand Prix standard is different than your highs, junior AOs. And the course needs to be appropriate. It is so critical because if you set something a disaster for me, I can't do anything with it. And then I'm unhappy because I'm doing bad work with my horses and I have no other option. I can't go to the next ring and jump the Grand Prix in the next ring with a different course builder.